So you have this weird hole for whatever reason, and it's not easy to see how to repair it. The first thing you need to do is make your edges square so that the repair will be easier and the result will be tidier. That seems a little scary, I know, but that's what we have to do first. So let's figure out where the outside of our hole is. So here's a column of knitting, and here's a column of knitting, and we can see that there's missing half stitches here. Here's a column of knitting on the outside edge, but we can see that there's sort of a missing piece here. So this column has to go, and this column has to go. Okay, so here I have my hole, and as you can see, I've made it nice and regular. I had a couple of shorter pieces, so I went out another column of stitches so that I would get longer pieces of the existing fabric in order to be able to weave them in later. So I've also lashed down all of these extra pieces. These are going to have to be woven in at the end, but I've lashed them down in order to get them out of your way so that you will be able to see what I'm doing. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these stitches onto a knitting needle so that I can knit with them. So once you have all of your stitches on your needle, you are going to knit these stitches. Now, I'm using a contrast yarn so that you can see it, but you will use the yarn that you knit with because you were smart and saved some in your stash, or you were able to hunt some down to match, or a reasonable match. So to purl back, I need to change direction of yarn. So I've measured off a length of yarn that I think is going to be more than enough to close this hole. And I'm going to turn direction by coming up through the stitch of this row that is in the secured column, and I'm going to go back to the back of the yarn, of the fabric, through the bar that is in the bottom of the stitch above it. And from there, I have yarn on the back side of my fabric, but I am going to be purling with this yarn back. So I have these two rows that are repaired, and I have turned my yarn around like I did at the beginning of this row. And now I am simply going to graft this row of stitches to the bottom of this row of stitches, which is going to include the half of a stitch from the adjacent column. So I don't know, I don't want to lose focus here, but this is, see, this is half a stitch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, sorry, I'm going to go down there and then come out of the next bottom of that stitch. And then I'm going to just simply graft the rest of this row. And that is my last stitch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in with my yarn needle, and I'm going to weave in this end, and then I'm going to pull all of these yarns back to the back of the fabric, and I'm going to weave those in as well. So here's the back side. As you can see, I have done weaving in. I like to weave everything in the direction that it was going, which creates bridges and helps lock the edges of the hole. So the darning, the repair yarn went outward and the broken yarn went inward. So you can see on the front, it's not bad. If it were all in the same yarn, you might not even notice it unless you pointed it out to somebody.